He doesn't even need a reason. That's written right into the Constitution. That's written in.
Carney's got a new problem. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got the Quebec Separatist Party gaining a lot of support in Quebec. This is especially bad for Carney because if Quebec separates, there'll never be another Liberal Party in Canada ever again. Got some talk about Kuzma and some other things. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got Pierre Poilievre posting this. Grocery price inflation is rising twice as fast in Canada as it is in the United States. We're seeing 1.9% in America and 4.7% in Canada. November 2024 to November 2025. Not only that, Americans make a lot more money. Their food is a lot cheaper, so this is especially bad for Canada. We got Ryan Gerritsen posting this collage. Media trying their best to fearmonger Canadians. It's not working anymore. Canadian travel to US falls 31% in September. Why Canada's winning the travel trade war with the US. More Canadians head for Mexico for winter getaways. US ski towns hope holiday season turns around. Canadian resolve to skip US travel. They're trying their best to keep drumming up this conflict, the fear-mongering. I think an idea that Carney can run on this again, fear-mongering Donald Trump in America to win a majority government. The entire situation is a complete joke, such as with this guy, David Eby. Here we have him announcing Merry Christmas as well as...
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Nice to join you here in downtown Vancouver on the territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Oh, that's right. Throw a land acknowledgement in there. Let's have the Musqueam, Squamish come and land claim downtown Vancouver. How much will that cost taxpayers? $2 trillion? This clown show does not end. As Mr. Bench says, from there he jokes about children agreeing to an MOU with Santa.
And they think they have a loophole. They've suggested that they enter into an MOU with Santa.
Oh, that's so funny. Moving ahead, we've got this one. Rolls-Royce may shift $1.6 trillion jet engine project to US or Germany because things are so awful in the UK. It says a shift would deal a significant blow to the UK's manufacturing sector and Labour's industrial growth strategy. Project could create 40,000 jobs across Rolls-Royce. This is what happens when you have bad policy. These big companies, they leave. Moving ahead, we've got Canada provides $50 million to buy drones and drone parts for Ukraine because Canadian lives don't matter. In other news, we've got a 19-year-old man in Toronto who made a list of people he wanted to end. This is a real thing. Police arrested the suspect male yesterday. This is Canada now. We've got the Quebec Separatist Party gaining so much ground after Pablo Rodriguez's pay for votes scandal has come out. He stepped down. We've got a couple polls here. Charrette's posting this one, Angus Reid poll, 40% for the PQ and 18% for the Liberals. This is staggering how much they're leading here. There's also this one here in French, 35% for the PQ and 20% for the Liberals. They're not catching them. Charrette's noting this here, if there was an election, the Bloc Québécois would likely have their best showing since 2008. So with that said, separation is a potential here once again for Quebec. As Marty up north pointing out, interesting fact, based on the last 15 federal elections in this country, if Quebec separates, the rest of Canada would never elect another Liberal government. This is the same as if Alberta separates, then there would never be another Conservative government.
I was looking at public opinion polling that showed, a precipitous drop since the last month for the Liberals to the advantage of the PQ. And I think a lot of Canadians right now are wondering what that means for the future of Quebec sovereignty. Are you, Minister, worried about a referendum?
I take extremely seriously the fact that the PQ government is ahead in the polls and that the head of the PQ has clearly stated that within a year of his new mandate that he would indeed call a referendum for the separation of Quebec. As a federal politician that has been on the front lines of this issue for years, this would not be not only to the benefit of Quebecers, but this would have an impact also on our entire economy. And so I will make sure that the Federalist views and the importance of being part of Canada is well heard, and I'll work with my cabinet colleagues, but this is certainly something that I will be dedicating a lot of time and energy in the next year. And that's also one of the reasons I wanted to come back to the country after being a lot at the international level.
What we're seriously seeing here in Canada in 2026, you could have Alberta voting to separate as well as Quebec. As it states here, starting January 2026, the APP has 120 days to do one thing, to turn 200,000 Albertans already pledged and registered into 177,000 signatures. Basically, because of a court ruling, they have to redo this referendum, long story short, and so they can reapply for this. The vote would be in October of 2026, as it says here.
The new reality in Alberta with the passage of Bill 14 will be that the Alberta Prosperity Project will have 30 days to resubmit their petition question. The Chief Electoral Officer will have 30 days to review and approve it.
So then this would get put to the people would vote on it. Do they want to separate? And well, that's that. So will the same thing happen in Quebec? Will it happen in the same year?
Could you ever be convinced to run to replace Mr. Rodriguez if that question of sovereignty is kind of at the core of it, or have you totally ruled it out?
Listen, I've received many calls, many texts, a lot of people that have been pushing me to go. But my job also is to be the Minister of Industry. So I've said no.
Yeah, never say never. Never trust a Liberal. What do you think will happen to BC if Alberta separates? I mean, it would be madness. Now just think if Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC altogether separate. The country's fracturing right now. Mark Carney's not helping things. There's all sorts of ideas here like this, breaking it off in the middle. 4 different countries here. Technically, this is 5. We also got Randy Boussinot back in the news. He's been exonerated. Former Liberal cabinet minister Randy Boussinot gets default judgment in suit against ex-business partner. Remember this whole kerfuffle? The text messages with the other Randy. This is so preposterous, but look at this. The order awarded Boussinot nearly $450,000 in damages and legal costs. So Stephen Anderson, his business partner there, absolutely getting the short end of the stick here in court. The order requires that Anderson signs a statement that he fabricated stories about Boussinot being involved in global health imports. What about the other Randy and the text messages? I don't know what's going on with this clown show. We got a couple updates here on the CUSMA agreement. We got this guy here explaining the situation about Alberta duping Montana for their energy. He's got the answer here.
Functionally, Alberta is an energy island, so we have to kind of operate our energy system in isolation and in an independent state. There are connections to places like Montana. In doing that, though, to provide the security and reliability we need, there's choices and trade-offs that have to be made. And it happens that the rules that are being put in place and that are in place happen to make imports, specifically from Montana in this case, perhaps the first ones to be cut off, or one of the resources that is most flexible around that. And that can be seen as a trade barrier and largely to the detriment of Montana producers.
Part of the CUSMA gripes that America released was this conflict between Montana and Alberta and the energy provided. He goes on to further explain it here.
We have reduced the amount of coal capacity to effectively zero in the province here. So these sort of physical spinning resources that provide a lot of the stability to the grid are fewer. We have a large growth of renewables in the southern part of the province and in Montana, and at times we have too much of that. And so when you have excess generation capacity, there needs to be some sort of curtailment there. In many cases, we would prefer to maintain those spinning sort of gas-fired resources, if you will. They might be more expensive for stability reasons, even though they're not the lowest cost option. I think from the perspective of a Montana producer in the U.S. is like this should be an open free market where the lowest cost electron wins. I think from a system operator standpoint, it's not just lowest cost, it's also security and reliability of the grid. And so when you have that different rubric for making your choices, you may choose more expensive domestic resources over what you're finding from Montana.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. So if they have excess renewable power, they might reduce that to keep their gas-fired stuff running, so it's not a larger cost down the road to fire it back up. But of course, then that doesn't offer the cheapest power possible. So it doesn't sound like there's really a problem there. Just maybe America needs to know what's going on in that situation. That should be one they can easily resolve. Here we've got them talking about the dairy cartel supply management.
To negotiate, or did we already bend as far as we can to get this last agreement? Any flexibility to negotiate, or did we already bend as far as we can to get this last agreement signed?
We did a lot of gymnastics just to get to the customer. There would be a little bit of wiggle perhaps, but not much, and not enough to make them happy. And that's why this is really the Grinch that stole Christmas for Prime Minister Carney. This is a real tough one. That's why they're giving it to us now.
There is some thought that President Trump actually wants this whole deal to fall apart. He wants to renegotiate separately with Canada and with Mexico. Could this be, I said it before, could this be the hill he dies on? Could this be the thing that finally breaks the negotiations and saying we can't come to an agreement, there's no deal anywhere?
Well, first of all, it's up to President Trump could cancel the deal at any point on 6 months' notice. He doesn't even need a reason. That's written right into the Constitution.
That's baked in.
Written in. So when we talk about a 16-year deal, it's actually a 6-month deal because we can be evicted. We're like tenants that could be evicted at any point. Canada needs a deal because we're so leveraged. That's our mistake for leaving it for so long to be so highly leveraged to the U.S. So Canada has to find some type of deal for market access.
Yeah.
And this is one of a number of pieces. It's just the top of the list.
I know dairy farmers, and if they're watching this morning, they're yelling at the screen. What do they need for our government to do to protect their industry?
it's really going to end up about money. If the dairy farmers have an allocated quota and they buy the allocated quota and they've done all their decisions based on that. So they're going to get bought out if that happens. If we change the system, they're going to have to be compensated significantly. It's going to be very disruptive. It's politically exceptionally sensitive, especially in Quebec and in British Columbia. This is a very thorny political issue, has national unity implications, got all types of issues. It is really giving us a very nasty bit of a problem just before Christmas.
So Trump wants to appease dairy farmers in red states that have a lot of dairy for the midterms. But I mean, this has been an issue for a while now. Ever since he came back the second term here, it's supply management has been on the table. America subsidizes their milk, so it's cheaper. Well, you could easily just write that into the agreement so it's at the same level. Canada produces excess milk that they just pour down the drain. With the free market, Canadian milk producers could sell their excess milk to America. Now, the question is, how much would flood up here? There's a bunch of Canadians who don't want to buy American milk, so really are they going to sell all that much up here? But this is the boogeyman. They're not going to touch this at all. There's too much riding on it. The Quebec pension CDBQ invested in Brookfield. Marc-Andre Blanchard and Michael Sabia both used to work there. They've got financial ties to that. They're Mark Carney's right-hand men. Mark Carney won't touch this, period. The question is now, will Mark Carney cease to be prime minister because of this issue? Here's an interesting clip. So we got Sharon Kerr here. She even commented on this, saying that she is not a journalist. Why is she on here? As she stated on her own X account, she was a Liberal staffer for 5 years, yet they bring her on as some sort of panelist. Listen to this.
My biggest story of the year would be who was the biggest loser. And I got to say, if losing was an Olympic sport, Pierre Poilievre would be going for the gold. We have a man who has been elected since he was 25 years old, I believe, has been in office now for just over 2 decades, lost his own seat, had to go run in another province, in another seat, had to have a member step down, has now had 2 members of the Conservative Party cross the floor. One has resigned and just can't seem to catch a break because he can't seem to change his style. So I would say the biggest story.
Why did they even bring her on here? They just wanted someone to insult Pierre Poilievre, call him a loser. His numbers are higher than Mark Carney's in the most recent poll. The latest poll from Main Street Research projects a Conservative majority. They just wanted to bring on someone here to attack Poilievre. It seems all very coordinated, like they're nailing him time after time again here for, I don't know, for the last 3 or 4, 5 days straight here on CTV.
Last year around this time, people were getting, like, they were measuring the curtains. They were trying to see where he's going to put his desk. And right now, it's not looking so good for Pierre Poilievre.
Don't the two of you fight each other after this segment is over, is all I have to say.
How does this add value bringing this person onto national television? This is not some sort of smart, well-educated discussion, bullet points on anything. It was just her. She was just brought on to attack Pierre Poilievre. Next up is quite the interesting scene here. We've got a guy who pulls a sharp pokey on the train and starts threatening people. And a real Canadian, as it says, Toronto residents confront man, a real Canadian stands up and intimidates this guy off the train and out of the subway. So you can't see the pokey, but the guy who's backing up here on the left side is the guy who had it. This guy here.
You can't kill me. I'm not allowed to. You're a goofy, bro. You're walking up and down the train with a knife. They're gonna do somebody's house. I would not. Yes, man. Why are you pulling weapons? They're mad at people. I didn't put that. Look at you. You're a goofy, bro. Think about the. You're on camera everywhere like a flame. I think you walking the wall. Anyone coming out because a real man is just bad. Go bad.
Oh, you could see it there in his hand, and it's in his right hand. He's got the pokey there. Yeah, right here. This guy's walking him back, and he's got a pokey ready to roll. It's pretty brave.
Well, he ran. Whoa.
So he ran away from him up the stairs here. I think this guy realizes that if he tries to pokey this guy may have some self-defense training.
You retarded, bro.
Yeah, it's not a good position to be in. Him having the high ground and the pokey. This guy doesn't want to call his bluff because you do it to the wrong person, you're going to be out.
Bro, literally a goofy.
So this standoff just continues here, a bunch more swearing. My sensei always taught me, if you ever get into a situation where there's a pokey, your best defense is running. Hats off to these two guys here who walked him out of there, got him away from all the people on the train. People in the comments here are saying this guy's a biker, so if he did get pokeyed, there would be an entire crew that would find this guy and, yeah, take care of him.